And welcome. Good evening. This is the special June 17th, 2026 Northampton School Committee meeting. I'm Jean Louise Scherer, the chair of the school committee, and I will be presiding this evening. This meeting is being held remotely on Zoom pursuant to the modification of the state's open meeting law for the pandemic. And this meeting and all participating will be audio and video recorded. And I'll begin by asking Cassie to please call the roll of the school committee.
Mayor Shara,
Present.
Member Bartoli,
Present.
Member Weissenfreund,
Here.
Member Montgomery Tomaclo,
Here.
Member Stein,
Present.
Member Martin,
Here, and I'm sorry my name is wrong. Don't know why I can't fix it. Usually I can.
I'll help you out with that in 1 second.
You should be
Member-
able to, actually.
Well, I've disabled renaming.
Oh, that's not what it says here, but okay. Oh,
Okay.
maybe. There you go. Give it a try.
Member Mahoney,
Present.
Member Reese,
Here.
Member Jewell,
Here.
Member Sanders Sullivan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. So we're going to start this meeting with an executive session, and we will be coming back into public session for the remainder of the meeting. I just want to note that we will not be taking up the first two items on the agenda for executive session. They were inadvertently carried over from the last agenda, but they'll instead be on the August agenda or whenever they're ready to be addressed again. So is there a motion to enter executive session? And whoever's going to make this motion, you can skip that first paragraph and just start at the second.
I'll go ahead and do it.
Great, thank you.
Let's see, motion to enter executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, Purpose Number 1, to discuss complaints against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual, specifically to discuss a staff complaint against a public official.
And it continues on.
Whoop, sorry about that. Pursuant to MGL Chapter 30, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. Am I reading all of that? Yes?
I think you can then just read the start of the next paragraph, which is
To comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or, federal grant-in aid requirements for the purpose of reviewing and approving executive session minutes to comply with the open meeting law GLC 30A, section 22 F and G.
Okay, the chair does so declare. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion is made by member Sanders Sullivan, seconded by member Jewell. Again, before we take roll call, we will be coming back into public session after this executive session. Roll call, please.
Member Bartoli,
Yes.
Member Weissenfreund,
Yes.
Member Montgomery Tomaclo,
Yes.
Member Stein,
Yes.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Yes.
Member Reese,
Yes.
Member Jewell,
Yes.
Member Sanders Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Shara.
Yes. Okay, we're going to enter executive session. So those of you who are in the public meeting now, we're going to put you into the waiting room, and we will let everyone back in when we come back into public session. Thank you.
Recorded.
Thank you. And our the agenda is vote on a recommendation. So this is to codify the existing off and away procedure into policy for a pilot at the high school. And Member Weisenfreud, you were going to
Yeah,
present
thank
this
you.
from
So I'd like
rules
to
and
just
policy?
say a couple of words. As we all know, this is a topic that many people feel very passionately about. Just a little framing and context. The Massachusetts Senate recently passed the bell-to-bell ban in July 2025, and the legislation is currently under review by the House Committee on Ways and Means. The bill now awaits a vote at the House of Representatives before it can proceed to Governor Maura Healey's desk for signature. We don't yet know what a final version will look like, and after it is passed and signed into law, what guidance for district policies DESE will produce. I do want to remind my colleagues and everybody listening here that the state will be developing its model policy, and that should be forthcoming soon. In our city, many caregivers and teachers would like to see a bell-to-bell policy implemented as soon as possible. Many students are opposed to a bell-to-bell policy, and just last week at our school committee meeting, we received additional really interesting data from the SAC survey, indicating that 75% of students surveyed do not want a phone ban, and the main reasons are for communication with their parents and with their jobs. And many of us are still weighing the pros and cons of different approaches, considering educational, social, legal, and budget implications. We have also heard the calls for clarity and consistent expectations and rules across the district. The Rules and Policy Subcommittee's job is to look closely at policies that are referred to us and to make our recommendations to the larger body. The subcommittee has been taking a collaborative approach, trying to understand different perspectives and eliciting stakeholder input, including the public, students, and NPS staff. At our April 15th meeting, we invited additional feedback from the SAC. We also heard from Dr. Bonner, who explained that off and away procedures are working well everywhere except for the high school. This important piece of information was foundational in our invitation to Principals Lockery and Taglieri to our May meeting, so we could hear from them directly. At our May 20th meeting, we received a presentation from Principal Lockery on the off and away procedure and came to understand that it is working very well at JFK. What seemed really significant was that Principal Lockery very intentionally got staff buy-in from the beginning. And there's much more, and you can watch the meeting if you like. We learned that while the off and away policy does not eliminate every kind of cell phone use, for example in the bathrooms, it is working well overall. It is simple, it is clear, it is consistently enforced by everybody, and does not have a negative economic impact on the district. In speaking with Principal Taglieri, it became clear that this procedure had not been tried at the high school, and Principal Taglieri told us about the inconsistent application of cell phone rules at the high school and expressed that an off and away policy would require teachers to enforce expectations. I also asked the principal directly about some other disciplinary issues such as fights that had been reported by constituents and linked to cell phone use. Principal Taglieri agreed that these issues were not caused by cell phone use. Both principals agreed that clarity and consistency is important. So that is where we left it. A note on policy versus procedure. My colleague Tiffany Jewell has, I think, very valuable contributions in encouraging us to separate policy from procedure. And in our conversations, I believe we agreed that the next step is to clarify the policy and then let the superintendent and her staff propose procedures based on that policy. Finally, a note on the budget. Implementing a tried and true procedure that is working well across our district will have minimal economic impact. An inaccessible bell-to-bell policy may have significant budget implications above and beyond the yonder pouches. The school committee at this point does not have a clear understanding how many additional staff hours it will take to fully implement an inaccessible bell-to-bell policy. In light of the fact that our budget is already woefully insufficient for all students to thrive, I ask those of you who would vote for an inaccessible bell-to-bell policy to think clearly about how we will assess the costs and what further cuts you propose to make from our existing budget. So in summary, our recommendation based on our work and considering all perspectives, the Rules and Policy Subcommittee, Member Jewell, Member Reese, and I voted unanimously to recommend to this body to create a pilot off and away policy modeled on the procedures that have been working well at JFK to be implemented as a pilot at the high school in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Sainer Sullivan.
Yeah, first off, I just want to say that both the House and the Senate have passed the bill and it is currently in conference. So those in conference expect it to pass before the end of session on July 31st. And we're not waiting on House Ways and Means. And also,
Thanks for the correction. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, what?
She thanked you for the correction.
Thanks. I want to start off by saying I applaud Principal Laurie and JFK for their early efforts to enact the process that they have and for paving the way for what comes next. I also want to thank the previous school committee and the ad hoc group for their work on this issue, members of the current Rules and Policy Committee subcommittee, and the students, caregivers, former and current teachers, and community members who have weighed in. The vast majority of emails and comments that I have received have been in favor of a policy that stipulates bell-to-bell cell phone inaccessibility. As Principal Taglieri said in last month's Rules and Policy meeting, which I've watched a few times, when speaking about students managing cell phone use, after a decade, I quote, "After a decade, we realized it's a losing battle," end quote. He also pointed to staff concerns around the JFK off and away model and being responsible for monitoring and enforcing, and that the ability to supervise and oversee all the spaces in the high school building would be a challenge. Off and away at NHS will be a much bigger challenge and will be more work throughout the day for staff than the work that will go into getting a policy of inaccessibility off the ground. The attention and energy it takes to not check a device is exhausting. Cell phone behavioral addiction is real, and all addictions, both substance and behavioral, involve dopamine, the brain's chemical messenger responsible for reward seeking and motivation. Why would we continue to ask our students to figure this out while at school? As one MPS caregiver wrote to all of us, and I quote, "The difference matters. Off and away still leaves phones in pockets and backpacks, keeps teachers and paras in the role of enforcers, and does nothing to stop the bathroom filming, group chat conflicts, and earbud-related safety problems both principals have described. It puts the burden on individual kids and adults to resist a device engineered to be irresistible. An inaccessible policy works precisely because it isn't punitive. It's collective. When every student is off their phone, no one is singled out, and the school becomes a genuine sanctuary. A consistent daily block of time for kids to actually be with their teachers and each other face to face. That shared experience is the whole point and can't happen if phones are still within reach. This is what the community has asked for. In last April's MPS survey, 57% of parents and 65% of staff strongly supported a policy of this kind, end quote. We can't control what goes on outside the walls of our schools, but we are responsible for the culture within our building in the years to come. I don't hesitate to say that this issue and the greater issue of technology in schools is existential. We aren't compromising only our abilities to focus, learn, and think critically, but more importantly, the ability to relate to each other as human beings. We have a generational opportunity to take a strong stand and to make a decision that will have a profound effect on all the issues before us as a community. Yes, high school students are approaching the legal age of adulthood, but we are the adults in the room right now. I'm not content to hope for the best and choose the simple and free option, as it's been described. Free at what cost? It's time to be radically proactive. This year will be a challenge for everyone, and that's okay. As a colleague said of a different undertaking, we can do hard things. Student representatives have sat in our meetings and asked us to follow through on what we implement and to provide consistency and clarity. Let's begin there for them. I'm a no on often way. Thank you.
You. Member Reese.
Thank you. So since we discussed this in rules and policy, I've been doing a lot more research and hearing from a lot more of our constituents. And it's really clear to me that the data support a cell phone free learning environment, period. And I know from the 31 emails, I've been counting them, that I've received from constituents since May 1st, supporting an inaccessible bell-to-bell ban. I know that that's what I'm hearing our district wants. And I think we also heard from Principal Lockery that the Yonder pouches might, or whatever pouch we decide to go with, might help with that problem with the hole with them using phones in the bathroom. And we also heard from Principal Taglieri saying that he felt that an inaccessible policy would make enforcement a lot more possible for staff. And we do already have about $54,000 already set away for pouches. And the staffing is a bit of a cost, but it is relatively low. And again, I think I agree with my colleague, Member Sainer Sullivan, about weighing the costs here. We know that cell phones damage education. And one bit of research I did was I talked to a school committee member from Watertown, who is also a middle school teacher at Newton. And she sent me photographs of these large removable magnets that go on the wall by the doors, and the students actually lock their own phones on them when they walk in, and there's a teacher greeting them, but it takes a lot less time because they are actually self locking as they enter, and then the school does occasional spot checks in classrooms, just shows your phones just so that students know that someone's watching. And then at the end of the day, the custodian who puts the magnet on the wall he puts it on in the morning, removes it, and at the end of the day, he puts it back on. And then it's really DIY because the students just totally are on their own exiting. And so I think in the beginning, we're going to want to have staff help with this, but it seems like this is a potential process that we could adapt to make things less expensive and smooth. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Member Stein?
Sorry, trying to unmute. I also want to share my thoughts. Just bear with me if some of this is a little bit less polished, my colleagues. I start off by recognizing that there is near consensus, I think, that cell phones are distracting and that they may amplify certain behaviors by children in our schools, and that we should have a policy to address these challenges. I also want to recognize that there is a vocal minority, I didn't count the emails, but I guess there was 31 emails, of parents who want us to implement a bell-to-bell policy that makes the devices completely inaccessible. At the same time, there are two bills being reconciled by the state legislature regarding this issue. Currently, no legal mandate, and it will go to DESE for an undesignated time, depending on the outcome, to draft a policy example for us to look at. And there is also the question about resources provided by the state. I am in support of piloting JFK's successful off and away practice at NHS this fall. In listening to the May 20th Rules and Policy meeting, I was struck by what Principal Lockery shared. Absent a policy, her school built a culture of expectations where cell phone use during the day was not acceptable. Building this culture required the buy-in of all administrators, educators, and staff. By all accounts, it is working fairly well. Many of the students who have experienced this practice have now or will be matriculating to NHS. And it is reasonable to believe that a similar effort at building such a culture would be successful and extend what students had accepted at JFK. We face many challenges in our culture at NHS, and I believe this is exacerbated by a lack of resources. Overcrowded classrooms and inconsistent policy enforcement need to change regardless of what type of cell phone policy we adopt. Often away requires the development of a culture. We can't hold students accountable right now for fights, online bullying, keeping bathrooms open. As Principal Taglieri stated at the May 10th meeting, a cell phone policy wouldn't address these types of behaviors. They can only be addressed by building a different intentional culture. As I've mentioned previously in discussions regarding cell phone policy, I hope we can have a much broader and meaningful conversation about these issues. Two distinct demands have emerged from members of the MPS community over the past year. The first is related to a bell-to-bell policy for cell phones. The second is concerns around ed tech and or one Chromebook per child. Oftentimes, each of these concerns rely on similar studies, particularly one large longitudinal study. While I do find the overall research regarding the impact of social media on children fairly compelling, the research regarding phones or screens is largely correlations that are really hard to tease apart when you look at the questions asked and the data sets. And it's much less compelling, frankly. Even in the recent study of bell-to-bell bans that Yonder Pouch participated in, the results were mixed, right? We simply don't have the evidence or the conceptual frames necessary to understand how contemporary technologies affect our pedagogy, our students' sense of belonging, and their education. As a parent who's concerned about many of these issues, I understand the appeal of a silver bullet, right? We get rid of the phones and we get all this stuff. But I think the emphasis on phones and the hope for what a bell-to-bell ban will achieve are simply a burden that they can't possibly deliver. We hear that eliminating phones will produce social cohesion, engage classrooms, all sorts of wonders. And Jonathan Haidt, who's probably the biggest public proponent of these, goes even farther, suggesting that we're not going to see any more entrepreneurs, and it's central to the American fabric unless we ban phones. These sort of correlative, speculative arguments are rife. We see them, and yet when you look at the data, especially around questions of addiction, we really don't see the evidence. I also want to say, lastly, two things. If we're concerned about improving classroom engagement at NHS, perhaps we need to invest more in teachers so we don't have overcrowded classrooms, as requested in the Strong budget. Perhaps we need to invest in curriculum, which we don't. Perhaps we need to invest in professional development. How do we, to my colleagues' questions, prioritize funding a cell phone policy instead of interventionists for poor children at Bridge Street School? How do we justify having people stacking phones when we can't adequately fund our IEPs? If we're talking about trade-offs, we need to talk about actual trade-offs and values. Lastly, I just want to say that this attention economy isn't necessarily new. The attention economy itself has been conceptually elucidated since at least the 1970s. And every technological transformation involves some cognitive offloading that every generation bemoans as a loss. We, however, are facing a really heightened moment in which we have an entire political economy hinged to this consumerist attention bubble, and AI, which is literally supposed to get rid of the cognitive load for us, right? All of those things are happening around us, regardless of what we do in the classroom, and they will also transform how and what we think education is supposed to do, probably in ways none of us would agree with. I think we need to start having those bigger conversations, and this policy and the ability to build a culture is an opportunity to do that. I think prohibitions kind of stunt often those types of discussions. So I'm all for building a culture at NHS. I'm all for following the lead of JFK. I'm all for investing in our schools so that they can provide enriching learning environments for students and meaningful connections. And I'm not convinced that it's a wise trade-off to sacrifice some of the other dire educational needs we have for monitors to check cell phones, which we got estimated at $104,000 a year. We will have to have a conversation about a line item budget regarding that. And lastly, as a committee, we never, to my recollection, made a request or voted for a Yonder Pouch capital improvement a capital request to come before council. And again, these capital requests with very few exceptions consistently bypass the Budget and Property Committee and the school committee. And I find that just profoundly frustrating in general. Thank you.
Okay, Member Jewel.
Thank you. Apologize for my camera being off. It's what works for my computer. So I have been digging into the history because this is something that we've been discussing for over a year in school committee from the previous term and our current term, and recognizing that it has been over a year. With the recommendation kind of early on, as Dr. Bonner pointed out in our rules and policy meeting too, like there is a very kind of simple, clear policy that was presented that could have been adopted, and at this point we could have been working on changing it. We could have worked in our schools to fine tune these things. So I think it stinks that so much time has passed and now we're kind of in a crunch. It feels like I do not like false urgencies, and I also I do need to say, like with phone bans, with any kind of bans, like the problem doesn't go away completely, right? Like it's still there. Our phones are still there, and or whatever we may try to ban, and people find workarounds. I think it's really important for us to be able to really support the learners in our community around critical media skills. I think that is one of the things that we are missing at times. And I do I feel very strongly after having talked with many middle school students in particular. And I really appreciate Principal Lockery for paving the way and laying the foundation and groundwork, because this solid foundation has really helped us to understand how cell phones can be, for lack of a better word, policed in our schools. And, you know, for my own child, the Off and Away works amazingly. That is just for my own child. What I have heard from students at the middle school level, particularly sixth graders and seventh graders, is that it isn't working as well, especially as Principal Lockery said, in the bathrooms and in the hallways. Some kids have reported they're not able to use the bathrooms because there will be too many kids trying to do a TikTok dance in the bathroom or whatever. And those areas are areas where our learners are most vulnerable, right? And so I'm thinking of our most vulnerable learners and access. I think it's also really important that our students can learn when they're in school and not have to worry about all of the extra things around them. There are ways for caregivers, for jobs to get in touch with kids, through email, and it's building a new culture. But I'm really moving towards a inaccessible policy, mostly because of what I have heard from learners and caregivers, and really looking at how can we support a community in creating, as Member Stein said, like a culture, right? Like we are looking at culture and how can we work to create a culture of students reconnecting with each other. And I don't think students are going to be reconnecting if they're worried about their phone every time it's buzzing in their pocket. We do, though, one of the things that I think is really important is building a safety infrastructure in our district that doesn't rely on phones. We have hall monitors and teachers and administrators using their own phones sometimes. I think we need to work on a better infrastructure that doesn't require that, because it isn't fair if teachers are using their phones and learners in the classrooms aren't. And so we really need to be rethinking what that might look like. I know there is money. I know Director Mesmer has written out some grants. We don't know if we're going to get them, but it also doesn't have to be yonder pouches. The ad hoc committee did so much work. However, the policy that we were offered was not a policy, it was more procedures, but they gave us all of the possible procedures in that policy. And with our new superintendent and some of the new administrators and principals, I do think that we can come up with procedures that can meet the needs budgetarily and of the community. I think that's all I want to say for now.
Okay, thanks. Member Montgomery Tomaclo?
So I want to thank the Rules and Policy Subcommittee for the work that they've done on this. And I think that I come at this from a different angle because we talk about the caregivers that were overwhelmingly in support of the cell phone ban. But if you look at it, it was what, 157 caregivers. And if you look at our middle and high school together, we have what, about 1,500 students total. So that is about 10% of the caregivers that filled out that survey. And so we are basing a pretty big policy change on a very small amount of respondents. So that's one thing. Secondly, I think that like the charge was for Rules and Policy to come up with something for us to vote on. So our options tonight are pretty limited. If we're no to off and away, there's no yonder pouches that come up. It is, we wait until it goes back to the body and they come up with a new policy. So my thought is we're going to be waiting anyway. Our next meeting is August. They won't have a policy by then. Who knows when it will be reconciled. So what is the harm in piloting the off and away now?
Sure.
And getting something started. And that leads me, though, to the culture issue. And this is something that I've been talking about since the beginning of my time on school committee just a few months ago. It's like the culture change that needs to happen. We can get yonder pouches. The kids are going to get around them. That's known. We can get off and away. The kids are going to get around them. So let's say the kids have inaccessible phones. They still have Chromebooks. They still have, some of them have spare phones. So they will find a way to have access to the technology. I think that where we fall apart is we don't spend enough time educating our students about the dangers of the technology that they so freely use. And this is me showing my age because I grew up on the internet stranger danger era. So like I'm always cautious, even though I have my phone and I have my tablet and I have my laptop, I'm always cautious though about like the information that I put out there and the way that I can be perceived. And that is because that was taught to me. And that is something that is severely lacking when we talk about digital literacy and technology and access. It's ubiquitous for them. So in a lot of ways, they don't see the dangers. And we need to focus on that as well. I mean, my approach to this is prohibition has never worked in this country. We've tried to prohibit many a thing and people find a way. And I would prefer to have something working in place while we figure out the next steps. And also, the evidence is not conclusive that taking the phones away will increase test scores and will increase student engagement. In fact, it's kind of like half and half. It depends on what the school district, the location, the area. There's so many factors. So we can invest all this time, we can invest all this money, and we probably will be right back here 2-3 years from now because we are putting forth the cell phones as the solution to all of our ills when we really need to be looking at the macro issues that also are around the cell phones. And why are the students so invested in cell phones? And cell phone use in school, we can control. Cell phone use outside of school, we can't control. And a lot of research now is coming out to suggest that that is probably the bigger driver of issues. Kids like not getting enough sleep because they're spending so much time. They're anxious about things. Even if they don't have them on in school, they get out and they deal with social media. So I really think that like, since our options tonight are off and away or nothing, I think that it behooves us to support an off and away policy.
Okay, Member Bartoli.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this short. My opinion on this has really changed since the start of my term. I came in really thinking that allowing our students to use cell phones as a tool to learn how to negotiate technology makes sense. But just given the research that I've read, given the conversations that I've had, you know, the majority of folks that I've spoken to in this community, and even those who have not emailed, supported an accessible bell to bell. And at this point, I have changed my mind, and I too support an accessible bell to bell policy.
Hey, Ana Lucia.
Hi. I just wanted to say that the JFK phone policy that you're thinking about doing for NHS, it seems a lot looser than the one we have at NHS right now. It allows all students to have their phones on their person. And that seems a lot looser than it is now because some classes do use the caddies that are at the front of the room or the back of the room. And for those classes, it works for them. And like in band, I go around and collect the phones in a basket so people can't have them while we're playing. But so what I'm trying to say is I'm pro a phone ban that takes the phones because I know not taking the phone will just make it really easy for all students to access their phones. If you take the phone, it makes it a little bit harder, and then people will think a little bit more about should I be using my phone or not. And I've talked to some JFK kids, and even if it seems like it's working, you have to remember that JFK students don't all have phones. At NHS, almost everyone does. And at JFK, some teachers, they just don't take the phone when they see it, or they will like give warnings. And it just doesn't work there, not in the way that it seems like it's being said that it does work. And also the ad hoc committee put in a lot of work to make one that was for yonder pouches, which at the time I was not a big fan of, but now that it's been like, oh, it's gonna be yonder pouches, it's gonna be yonder pouches, I've had time to get used to that, and I think those right now are kind of the best solution for us. And yeah, I just wanted to say that this JFK one will not work at NHS. The teachers will enforce it even less than the caddies.
Thanks, Ana Lucia. Member Martin.
I really appreciate everybody's thinking and sharing on this, including you, Ana Lucia. That was really important sharing, and it does line up with some of my experience from when my kiddo was at NHS and from talking to the Ask ambassadors at JFK, who, I mean, I really respect what the principal there has done, as other folks have said too, but those students were really clear that phone use at JFK is not under control, that as member Jewel was saying, there's lots of issues in the bathrooms, and they also said in the classrooms too. And I did note, I don't know if anybody had a chance to ask Principal Lockery, I didn't, but in the sharing that got sent around of her slideshow, it was really tiny print, but she said preferably phones would be locked in lockers. So it seemed a little contradictory to what she was saying in some ways, or some nuance there that I didn't really understand, but seemed to indicate that it is problematic there. And it certainly seems like it is at NHS. I do agree, the phones are not the cause of all the problems, and making them inaccessible bell to bell will not solve all the problems that there are. And I really, like member Bartoli, have moved a lot on this. And really one of the things that changed for me was when I realized that both the House and Senate passed inaccessible bell to bell bills, and they really were, the only thing that they're reconciling is a whole separate issue about banning social media. They're united on the bell-to-bell inaccessibility of phones. It seemed like we should move forward with this and implement it for the coming fall, so that it's, you know, when that bill, perhaps in the end of July or whatever, you know, we've heard different things, we've heard October, but having it in place for the whole school year definitely seems like a much better process for everybody. We did hear from Representative Sapadosa, that's $1 million of supplemental money for the implementation of the coming legislation. Of course, that's not passed, and we don't know what our share would be. As Member Jewell mentioned, we learned at the last Budget and Property meeting that yes, the Director of Curriculum has applied for a grant. I went and looked it up. Potentially for a district our size, we could be getting 50,000 of that, and some portion of that could be used for staffing. Not committed yet, but it certainly seems like people are recognizing there is implementation cost. Of course, there will be ongoing costs too, but that at least there will be funds for implementation that potentially will be coming to us. And I don't think that, you know, that it is not an, like, yes, we need to work on culture in so many ways. This will solve one problem to some degree, not completely. But in the end, I also have come to feel like the bell-to-bell inaccessible seems inevitable, and that we should get on top of it and give our new superintendent a chance to come up with a plan this summer and be ready to implement it. So I would move that we adopt that we could do that now. We could adopt a K through 12 cell phone policy that prohibits the use of personal electronic devices by students, making them inaccessible for the entire school day, with exceptions to accommodate students with IEPs and health plans, and that we direct the superintendent to work with principals and administrators to create and implement procedures and a robust communication plan as well, because that would be super important for the whole community in and out of school, all constituents, from students to caregivers to staff to educators, and that be in place before school begins on August 26th.
Second.
Okay, it was a long motion made by Member Martin and seconded by Member Sander Sullivan. Was that right?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Member Sander Sullivan.
Yeah, I too want to thank everybody tonight for weighing in, and especially Anna Lucia for her thoughts. You know, as far as teaching our kids how to use technology responsibly, we often teach critical skills without access to them. Drugs, alcohol, sex ed, financial literacy. We can educate without access. And I think that the education has to happen before kids are just asked to make the decision all throughout the school day about where their attention is going to lie. And the break from the cell phone is part of the education. It's how we help them create new habits. We show them what it can be like without consistent draw of a phone in their pocket or in their backpack or nearby. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody who hasn't spoken yet? I realize we're kind of on second comments at this point. Okay, then Member Mahoney, I don't think you've spoken yet.
So I just wanted to say thank you to Ana Lucia. I really appreciate your speaking up, but also I believe the policy should be in place for bell to bell. That's what the legislature is going to enact, and that's where we need to go. So it's up to us to adopt the policy for bell to bell and then spend the summer working on how to implement such a plan. Thank you.
Can I have a point of order / question? Do we need to vote to extend our meeting?
Oh, because it says on here, I mean, I think we've often gone past what it says, but I guess it couldn't hurt
We don't need to because our rules allow us to go to 9:30. At
Thank you.
9:30, we would have to.
Okay, thank you. So no, we don't. Thank you though. Member Stein, I think you were next.
Yeah, I'm really hesitant to pass a policy without a draft in front of us, particularly regarding exceptions and rules around how we're going to evaluate. I think for students with disabilities and access and medical concerns, this is a really fraught area, and just leaving it up to a brand new superintendent coming into the district to figure out on the fly with a new alt team seems like a really unwise decision. I also just want to point out that when these bills get reconciled, they're going to go to DESI for probably at least 6 months to prepare draft policies for us to look at, and that any money that comes from implementation will be after that. So you're essentially committing to spending, the estimate we got is $104,000 without explaining what you're cutting in the budget to do so. So are we eliminating a classroom teacher? Or like, what are we doing to fund this if you're going to take this step? And it's also, I think, highly unusual to not have a first and second reading of a policy before passing it, and to just make policy in this sort of fashion when a recommendation was brought that was entirely differently. I think you can do it, but it's a precedent that we're going to set that isn't wise for many reasons. I just lastly want to say banning cell phones and allowing a one-to-one Chromebook device practice is confusing at best. Instead of playing on phones, students will be trying to figure out how to overcome security lockouts and watch YouTube instead. Like, we haven't dealt with the screen access issue. We've just shifted the locus to a different device. And this is sort of that silver bullet thinking, and they have them all the time outside of school. So yes, you have to build a culture in the school. And I'm suggesting that one way to build the culture is not trying to rely on prohibition, which sort of takes the onus off the adults and the district to build the culture proactively, and says, we're just going to have, it's gone, right? Then you don't actually have to build a culture because you've satisfied some idea that you've taken away the problem. And then we can all pretend everything's fine. And maybe we'll even look at and see if test scores have improved in 3 years. And when they haven't, we'll say, well, that's surprising. But I don't know why we're getting ahead of the state, especially when they don't have guidance on a policy. I don't know why we're committing money that we desperately need to serve the educational needs of vulnerable students to this prematurely without exhausting all avenues to get money from the state. And I don't know why we're passing a policy with no draft policy in front of us or a first and second reading. And I don't know why we're ignoring a recommendation from the subcommittee whose 2 members, because of 31 emails and some reflection, have decided to go the other direction. So I think this is like not a, I know people love this. I don't think this is the best practice on how to make policy. I think it is definitely a best practice on how to let the loudest voices get their way. And I hope I'm wrong, but I can't wait to see what cuts you guys are making to fund this. Thanks.
Member Bartoli.
I want to thank Member Martin for what to me came across as a clear and comprehensive policy. Like Member Jewel, I am hesitant to work in a state of urgency, but I also recognize that this is something that I would love to see implemented in the new school year. I do support this. I also want to caution against directing our superintendent to do anything when really it is the role of the school committee to hire and evaluate a superintendent, but I will support the motion. So thank you very much.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay. I also just want to quickly thank the ad hoc cell phone policy committee and Dr. Vonner, who worked on this issue for over a year, as was noted by Member Jewell. and for all the work that the former and current members have done on this. This is, we have been talking about this for quite a long time. And a lot of work has gone into it by many people, including community members and students who are on that committee. And there had been a discussion on how any tools for its implementation would be funded, which is why it was added to the capital plan. Okay. Everyone clear? It was a long motion, but.
Can you read it again, please, Member Martin?
Yes.
Thank you.
I move
Go
that.
slow. Go
Okay.
slow.
And maybe you
I
could also
move-
send it to Cassie if
I
you
can
have
do
it
That
ready.
would be great.
I will do that.
Thank you.
I move that the Northampton Public School District adopt a K-12 cell phone policy that prohibits the use of personal electronic devices by students, making these devices inaccessible for the entire school day. Exemptions will accommodate student IEPs and health plans. Additionally, we direct the superintendent to work with principals and administrators to create and implement procedures and a robust communication plan before school begins on August 26th.
Okay. All right. Roll call.
Ready?
Yes, please.
Member Bartoli,
Yes.
Member Weisenfreund,
No.
Member Montgomery Tomaclo,
No.
Member Stein,
No.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Yes.
Member Reese,
Yes.
Member Jewell,
Yep.
Member Sainer Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Shara.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, great. Thank you. We are on to B, which is a vote on the MPS Bullying Intervention and Implementation Plan. And Dr. Bonner.
Hey, excuse me. Knowing that we have limited time, I'm going to do this very quickly. So, we review the bullying prevention and intervention plan annually, and so this is the review time. Just want to quickly summarize some things, and then there are some Scribner notes that I would like for the record so that we can make sure that we update those. So first off, both the district and Northampton School Committee emphasizes that preventing bullying and harassment is essential for a safe, secure, and positive school environment that supports academic success. The district maintains a zero tolerance policy for bullying, cyberbullying, intimidation, or harassment by or against students, staff, administrators, parents, or community partners during any school-sanctioned activities. Reporting, every member of the school community is responsible for reporting observed incidents or credible information. Parents, guardians, caregivers of both targets and alleged perpetrators must be notified of incidents and investigation results within specific timeframes set by district procedures, operating within federal privacy restrictions. The superintendent is directed to establish and maintain the bullying and harassment prevention intervention plan and procedures, which must include standard reporting forms, staff professional development, and student instruction in social emotional learning. Disciplinary consequences range from positive behavioral interventions to suspension or expulsion for students, and appropriate administrative or legal actions for adults. Retaliation against anyone reporting or cooperating with an investigation is strictly prohibited. District-wide efforts are managed by administrators or administration. This includes receiving and tracking reports, analyzing data, choosing curriculum, implementing student supports, and ensuring handbooks clearly state that bullying will not be tolerated. Our staff are trained annually. It is a part of our mandatory the beginning of the year trainings in which all staff members undergo, including any staff who may be hired mid-year, are required to take these mandatory trainings. Let's see. And then in terms of our administrators also are required to do training, and they do it annually. They're all of our principals, with the exception of one, have been trained by the Mass Aggression Reduction Center training on anti-bullying and cyberbullying, which is a 3-hour seminar. We also have had our attorneys, different attorneys over the years, to come and talk to us about bullying, how to write up protocols and procedures, and so on. And so the plan that we're reviewing this evening outlines protocols to address the underlying emotional needs of both targets and aggressors through counseling, individual safety plans, and behavioral intervention plans. For vulnerable students with disabilities, IEP teams must evaluate and incorporate specific skills to help students avoid and respond to harassment or teasing. The curriculum, the district mandates age-appropriate evidence-based bullying prevention instruction across all grades. That's primarily for K through 8. Furthermore, school staff must review the provisions of the plan directly with students by October 1st. So this is a part of that first faculty meeting that principals go over many of the protocols, and bullying is one of them. There's also external legal remedies that we include within the plan, in which families can take recourse, informing community members that they can file complaints, such as the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Program Resolution System, which is better known as PRS, the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination, MCAD, or the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights, OCR. So very quickly, and Cassie, I know that you are probably very tired, so I will send this to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
So on page 1 of the plan, there is a floating period. So these, again, are Scrivener notes that we need to remove. We also need to remove the date of 10/12. The actual acceptance approval date of this plan was 10/12/2023. That's the first initial one. 10/16/2023. That was the initial one. And then we'll put today's date if you also approve this plan to go forward. On page 2, and under Roman numeral 3, it refers to this policy. It is not a policy, it is a plan. So we need to make sure that we change that wording. For page 3, under 4, Roman numeral 4, the leadership, number 10, it says reviewing and updating the plan at least biannually. That should actually read annually. Okay, and then let's see, page 8. Okay, so page 8, under number 2, reporting by students, we need to capitalize caregivers. And page 9, there is a floating sentence on that very first paragraph, include locally established student safety planning policies and procedures here. Those are separate documents, and so we just need to remove that line. And let's see. And that is all I have, and I'm ready to take any comments and suggestions and changes for the document.
Okay, looks like Member Sanders Sullivan.
I just have a quick question, Dr. Bonner, on the actual incident report form.
Okay, let me get there.
Yep.
Okay.
So on the second page where it says, do you know of other incidents of bullying directed at this student? I don't know the answer to this. Should there be an option of, do you know of other incidents of bullying perpetrated by this student? So you can do either or? Does that make sense?
So the reporting form is actually the complainant writing.
Okay.
And so it would be a question to say, has there been something else that you may not have reported that has occurred in the past?
But you can't
Um,
report something that an incident you've witnessed as far as somebody else. It has to come from the reporter
right,
if you're
right.
filing the form. Okay.
And it depends on who submits the report, too, as well. Like for instance, a staff member could submit the report, or a parent could submit, or the student themselves. So, is there some another phrasing that you would like for me to add there or change?
I mean, I guess it just seemed like a natural option to have. I just don't know if if it's the report being filed by the person who's experiencing the bullying, then maybe it's not. I just, it wasn't clear to me if it, if you're reporting bullying by another student and you've also witnessed that student bullying someone else,
Oh,
it's relevant, but I don't know if it's legal.
okay. Yeah, this is specifically to interactions from that person who's making the report. And
Then that's what I was thinking. I just
okay.
wanted to make it be sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Member Mahoney.
I have one question on the form. Well, I have a couple of questions, please, on the form. The page 1 of the reporting form, that top sentence, the second sentence, if you wish to report an incident of alleged bullying, either contact the principal or associate principal. Complete this form and return to the school. It's a little confusing because it looks like your choice is to do that. I just would like to clarify the language a little bit around that, but I'd actually like to propose a bigger question in terms of families accessing the form, because it's really complicated to access the form. If you want to access the form, there's 3 places where I was able to do so. On the district's website, it's embedded in page 16 of the 21-page bullying prevention plan. On page 91, it's excuse me, of the 115-page code of conduct, that's on page 91. And on the district's homepage, you click on the drop-down menu for district information and then scroll to the bottom by clicking on report an incident. So it's very difficult for a caregiver or teacher or distraught student to find the form and report it. I'd also like to make the form live. Like some districts have like a live form that you can click on and it goes directly to the authority to investigate the form. If it's not going to be live, then we need it right at the top of each school's homepage and at the district's webpage with a cover letter about how to submit the form. So the parents know to whom to send it, how to send it. And lastly, the DESE model form includes both the bullying reporting form and the investigation form. And by linking those two together, it allows the person who's reporting the form to see what the steps are in a bullying investigation after it's been reported. Not that they would see the result, because I understand FERPA laws, but just how the process works.
Okay, so I'm writing down those suggestions. These are things that I would have to leave in my notes for the incoming superintendent. Then there's also a question in terms of having a live form, having that capacity. That is uh, a Luigi question.
Okay.
And so these are things that I will start, but I will leave them in my notes for the incoming superintendent to address.
Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much.
I know that Kate Zach, our Director of Digital Literacy, I thought that there was also a drop-down part for complaints as well on our website, but we'll try to make it again easily accessible. And I know that in the normally in the beginning of the first newsletters or first couple of newsletters, there will be something in there just reminding parents how to just navigate when they have complaints or problem solve, or first starting with teacher and then going to your principal and so on the chain. And then also if you have a complaint, whether it be bullying, harassment, or so on, that there is a form, that a standard form that you can use. But we will do something about making it more present so that parents can easily and caregivers can easily access the form.
Okay,
Thank you for that. I'll have to
Got it.
check on that live one though. The
Yeah.
live, that's going to be different.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Member Stein.
Yeah, I have just some comments I want to offer on this. Less about amendments to the form and more just general comments about fidelity to both this form and the related policies in the district. I continue to be concerned that we are not, again, in terms of culture, right? This is a big culture issue. Applying our policies with fidelity. I myself as a caregiver had a successful PRS complaint demonstrating this, and I do wonder how much actual observed bullying is being investigated, reported, or when reported being investigated. We don't have metrics for that, but I really hope that as a district moving forward, we can find some ways to build the culture and build more fidelity to these existing policies and more accurately represent the climate that many of our students are experiencing. I also hope that PRS findings in this regard are shared with the school committee members as well as the corrective actions that are shared with administrators, so that we can be more aware of determinations DESE has made in these issues. We can follow up with a new superintendent on this, but to reiterate, just another large cultural area where we, especially at the elementary level, have not invested the resources in what we have as our second step curriculum, nor the professional development, nor its implementation, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of work to do here that often gets obfuscated by low report numbers. But does not mean we don't have issues. Thank you.
All right. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet? Member Mahoney. Oh, sorry, Member Martin. Go ahead, Member Mahoney.
Okay, thank you. I did note in looking at the DESE website that the bullying allegations that were reported in school year 24 were at number 20. There were 27 allegations reported in 2024 and then 47 for school year ending 2025. So there does seem to be an increase. And also looking at the discipline numbers in 24 school year ending 25, June 25, there were 0 students disciplined for bullying. 1 student the previous year was disciplined for bullying. 0 were disciplined for sexual assault or sexual harassment. And so following up on Member Stein's point about, consistency, I'm wondering about doing something like a bullying response team where it's there are grade bands that would investigate the bullying rather than so that might make it a little bit more consistent. And then I'd also like to, in thinking about the culture, have sort of like an anti-bullying advisory council that would include staff and students, school council members, the restorative justice team, the Title IX, to look at the data provided by like a bullying response team and look for trends. Are there bullying allegations happening in one particular school? Is there a type of bullying that we're seeing more of? And it would also be interesting to see if there's less cyberbullying once this bell-to-bell policy is implemented. So those are just some things that I wanted to bring to your attention. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Martin.
I am wondering whether it's appropriate to make a couple motions to put emphasis behind, I think, a very, seems like some consensus around our concern around this from, yeah, a concern around this. So I in particular, I've been picking up, and I did, read our policy. It made me go to look at the DESE website and look at different things there. And I do think that their reporting form, as Member Mahoney was mentioning, is much more comprehensive. And I'm just going to throw it out there. So I'd like to make a motion to direct the superintendent to model our incident response form on DESE's form and to return it to the school committee to review in September.
Second.
Okay, motion's made by Member Martin, seconded by Member Mahoney. Any further discussion? So is that a motion to approve these with that direction? Because we have to vote on both of these, correct, Dr. Bonner?
Yes.
What happens if we don't approve the form?
Well, you could just say that you could specifically just say that you approve the plan with the amendment of the Scribner errors that I just mentioned, as well as updating the form to match what is on DESE's website.
So I would like to change my motion to reflect what the superintendent just said.
Okay, so you'll withdraw your motion and replace it with what was just shared by Dr. Bonner.
Yeah, accepting the current plan and asking to replace the form with the one on DESE's website. I think that's right. And also, yes, with the corrections to the Scrivener errors that the superintendent articulated earlier.
So is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Member Martin, seconded by Member Reese. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Member Weisenfreund,
Abstain.
Member Montgomery Tomico,
Yes.
Member Stein,
Abstain.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Yes.
Member Reese,
Yes.
Member Jewell,
Yep.
Member Sainer Sullivan,
Yes.
Member Mayor Shara,
Yes.
Member Bartoli.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Member Martin.
So I appreciate that moving forward. I think that will serve our students and families well. I also was hearing Member Mahoney talk about a different way of investigating a bullying response team, and to me that seems worthy of perhaps revisiting then the policy. So we've just approved it, but I guess I want to make a motion to send it to Rules and Policy to consider a bullying response team in the way that Member Mahoney was describing.
Second.
Okay, motion's made by Member Martin, seconded by Member Honey. Member Bartoli.
Yeah, so again, this is definitely not my wheelhouse, but is that within the realm of procedure or policy, the creation of a bullying response team? And to what extent is that something that we leave to administration with a suggestion versus dictate ourselves? And I'm wondering if someone can weigh in on that. I like the idea. I just want to stay within our scope.
Okay. Dr. Bonner, do you have an
Thanks, Dr. Bonner. Yeah.
I don't know where.
Oh,
where
so that is procedural, but you can make the motion, and I would suggest to start with a pilot at one of the schools. Because what is that? Who's going to make up that team? And then, and if you are bringing in, I mean, you have to think about the child's privacy. There's quite a few components that you would need to think about, but you can make the suggestion as a procedural suggestion and have the superintendent report back to you in terms of how it is going. Have a baseline in terms of how many bullying incidents have occurred maybe over the last 3 years, and to see if there's a reduction, see if there's a difference, set it up to see if it's actually effective, and get that feedback. And then it might be something you may want to roll out to all the schools. But you need to think about, again, it's procedural, it's managerial. So, thinking about who's going to make up that team, what is it going to look like? Their access to the information. I mean, some of our students, I mean, some of the background, is confidential. So you have to be considerate of that too, in terms of who's going to be on that team. So just a thought. It's
Thank you.
more of an action.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Member Weisenford.
Yeah, again, I don't think this is a policy question. And I don't, I want us to be cautious not just to refer things over to rules and policy when we already know what we think or we already know what we want to do. And also when it's procedural. I don't know what the point of a recommendation would be from rules and policy if you already know what you want to do. So I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay, Member Martin. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. I mean, it is a very procedural heavy policy as it is, and I think a lot of that probably comes from state and DESE mandates. I definitely understand and want to give the superintendent, their authority to do procedure. So I'd be comfortable changing this to, I don't know the right way to do it, but I feel like there needs to be some exploration, and we could ask the superintendent to, do some research and report back to us. I'm not sure. Would love to hear other people's thoughts.
Okay, so it's 9:20. I just want to do a little time check because we have a lot left on the agenda too as well. Member Sanders Sullivan.
Yeah, I do think we need to be careful about what we pass off to rules and policy. I appreciate Member Weisenfreud saying that. And I also realize we're asking a lot of our incoming superintendent, but that's what she's here for. And so, yeah, I'm not sure what the motion, do we have a motion on the floor, or do we need a new one? We have a motion. Okay.
Yes.
I think we need to vote on what we have with the agreement, right? That it's going, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I do think that it shouldn't go back to rules and policy.
So we already voted on the form and the plan.
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, are you done, Member Sanders?
I am. Yeah. It wasn't very articulate, but I am. Thank you.
Okay, Member Bartoli.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest that we amend Member Martin's motion to table a bullying response team to our August meeting, where we can get a recommendation from the new superintendent as to how she feels it would be most effective to handle this, and any associated procedures.
So it wouldn't be a tabling, but it would be a postponement.
Thank you. Postponement.
Or since it's at, that's our next meeting anyway.
Okay. Member Martin, is that something you'd be willing to second?
Yeah, I am open, as I said.
Okay.
I think we need some more attention. I don't think this is an issue that's been solved by our current policy, and we're not alone in that, right? But so I'm just looking for ways to continue to innovate and address this.
Okay, so then I motion to amend Member Martin's motion to postpone the creation of a bullying response team. Was that the language in concert with the superintendent's recommendation in August?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Sorry, did you say the superintendent's recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all want to check in with her to see what her approach is going to be and if the suggestion is a reasonable one to implement.
Okay, so to have that discussion with her.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so that amendment to the motion was made by Member Bartoli, seconded by Member Mahoney, I believe. Member Stein.
Yeah, I just want to sort of mark for my colleagues the extremely wide latitude on what is relevant to the motion on the floor that's been allowed to persist on this particular agenda item. It does stick out to me as remarkable given the constraints that folks have tried to place on me recently regarding their relevance. We've kind of gone all over the world from what's a procedure, what's a policy, to maybe we should just like wait and do a vibe check with Annie, to none of which would meet the interpretive standard that's being applied to me continuously. So just wanted to mention that for you all to reflect on. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion on the amendment? Roll call, please.
Member Montgomery Tomaclo,
Yes.
Member Stein,
No.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Yes.
Member Reese,
Yes.
Member Jewell,
Yes.
Member Sanders Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Shara,
Yes.
Member Bartoli,
Yes.
Member Weisenfreund.
No.
Okay. So we are back to the motion as amended. Cassie, are you able to read it?
I have that the motion is to send the idea of a bullying response team to rules and policy, seconded by Cindy Mahoney, Member Mahoney.
Okay, and then the amendment was to discuss it at the
Right.
August meeting.
So that's the motion. Right. Sorry.
Okay,
Post-
so to postpone sending it until,
Suggest amending Member Martin's motion regarding to postponement for the creation of a bullying response team in concert with the superintendent's recommendation in August.
okay. All right, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Stein,
Abstain.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Yes.
Member Reese,
Yes.
Member Jewell,
Yep.
Member Sanders Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Shara,
Yes.
Member Bartoli,
Yes.
Member Weisenfreund,
Abstain.
passes.
Okay.
I didn't vote.
Oh,
Oh, I'm so sorry. Who
You're
is that?
fine.
Member Jewell?
Renika.
Oh,
No.
Member Montgomery Tomaclo.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That's my vote.
Okay. Next is a resolution in support of Massachusetts Bill H 4361 and S 1884. And member Bartoli was going to present this. And I think she's going to ask us not to vote on this, but I'll let you speak to it.
Yeah, so I think it was last month, Beth Adams, who's a math teacher at the high school, emailed us all to ask us to put together a resolution in support of this bill that was passed by the House last July and is currently before the Senate. And that is a fair fix for retirement plus. So back in 2001, a retirement program was created as an alternative, and not all educators were able to transition to the new program. And so this is to fix the fact that not everyone was able to enroll in that program. The good news is that the Senate passed it last week. So unless someone is really compelled to do so, it's really not necessary for us to vote on this resolution. And so I motion to postpone the resolution indefinitely. Is that the right language? And move on to the next agenda item. Or if the chair can move us on to the next agenda item, then we can just go ahead and do that.
Sure, we can postpone that item.
Yeah, if there's no objection.
I don't see any.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next is, vote to approve the MOA for nutritional services clerical staff. Is there a motion?
Excuse me, it's almost 9:30.
Yeah, I was hoping to get one of these done before 9:30, but we can make a motion to extend if you'd like.
Motion to extend by 15 minutes, 9:45.
A second.
Okey-dokey.
Who is the second?
Amy.
Amy.
Motion was made by member Sanders Sullivan, seconded by member Mahoney. Any discussion on suspending rules till 9:45, I think is what I heard. Yes, member Weisenfried.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm gonna have to leave. I'm sorry.
Okay. Member Joel.
I'm just noticing that the superintendent's report is about 35 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, but Dr. Bonner's shaking her head. So 15 minutes will. Okay.
Okay. Okay, roll call, please.
Member Montgomery Chumaclo,
No.
Member Stein,
No.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Yes.
Member Reese,
Yes.
Member Jewell,
Yep.
Member Sanders Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Shara,
Yes.
Member Bartoli,
Dane.
Member Weisenfreund,
No.
the motion passes.
Okay, it needed
Oh.
supermajority, right?
It does need a supermajority, yeah.
Yeah.
It's six votes.
Oh, okay, so then I think it passed. No, how many?
Yeah,
Are
it
we
just
moving
passed.
Back the votes, Cassie, please.
Pardon me?
Can you tell us which 6 voted yes?
Mayor Shara, Amy Martin, Cindy Mahoney, Valerie Reese, Tiffany Jewell, Robbie Sanders Sullivan. 3
Thank you.
noes and Member Bartoli abstained.
Yeah, it's a supermajority. It's just passed.
Thank you.
Okay, so MOA for nutritional services clerical staff. Is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the MOA for nutrition services clerical staff.
Second by Tiffany.
Thank you. Motion's made by member Martin, seconded by member Jewell. Any discussion, member Bartoli's discussion?
Yeah, I just want to confirm this is the second vote on this MOA. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, both member Mahoney and I, who were not present, I believe need to abstain to preserve the vote.
I don't know if you have to, but
I mean, we need to vote the way that we voted in executive session so that we don't get
Okay,
have any inconsistencies.
okay.
Member Stein,
Abstain.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Reese,
Yes.
Member Jewel,
Yep.
Member Sainer Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Shara,
Yes.
Member Weisenfreund. Is she absent?
Yes, I think she's left.
Member Montgomery Tomaclo,
Yes, and I have to leave after this.
Okay. Is that everybody?
yep.
Okay. So that passed, yes. Okay, E is vote to approve MOA for clerical staff tracking missed services. That will be postponed to a future meeting. And F is vote to approve MOA for tech integrationist. Motion to approve that?
I move that we approve the MOA for tech integrationist.
Second.
Motion made by Member Martin, seconded by Member Sainer Sullivan. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
I believe I have to abstain.
okay. Member Reese.
Yeah.
Member Jewel,
Yep.
Member Sainer Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Shara,
Yes.
Member Bartoli,
Abstain.
Member Weisenfreund's gone, Member Tomaclo's gone, Member Stein,
Yes.
it passes.
Okay, moving on to superintendent report. Dr. Bonner.
So I'm going to be very brief, but there's something I have to say. Saying goodbye is a natural yet emotional part of the school year. We experience it as we celebrate students stepping up to the next grade and as we wave goodbye to friends and families moving on to new chapters. While these departures bring a poignant sense of closure, they also open doors to fresh experiences, new ideals, and exciting growth. I want to extend my deepest gratitude and warmest wishes to the entire Northampton school community, our incredible students, dedicated caregivers, and hardworking staff as you transition into this next chapter. Our work together over the past 3 years was built on deliberate strategic vision to see exactly where we stand today. Please view the strategic scorecard, which was linked into your newsletter. And I know that some might wanted to ask questions, so see me next week. So it gives you, this scorecard gives you a little bit about where we started and where we are now, and some guidelines of next steps if you continue on with the goals that were identified in our strategic plan. So looking ahead, it's my sincere hope that the strategic plan continues to serve as a living guide to drive impactful, lasting change, ensuring that NPS successfully meets the unique needs of every student and family we serve. Thank you for your partnership, dedication, and shared commitment to our schools, and a farewell to all of you. And also thank you very much for my beautiful flowers. I really do appreciate them. And then very quickly, keeping within short time frame, you wanted an update on the high school bathrooms. And so the addition of campus monitors has significantly improved bathroom access and security at the high school. Long lines have been eliminated because monitors now manage capacity by regulating student entry. Vandalism has also dropped sharply, with only one incident reported since April, for which the student was identified. Consequently, bathrooms are no longer closed as a punishment for vandalism. Any temporary closures are strictly due to staff coverage limits, ensuring at least one bathroom is always available. Additionally, 5 staff members began piloting the Smart Pass system in early June. Our students reps talked about this last week. While technical integration has slowed the onboarding process, staff feedback will be gathered and evaluated as the pilot continues, hopefully into next year. And then also on that list, I think I covered it all. Okay, the school improvement plans, they are on the website for your access. I also suggest that the video to see the remaining presentations is available to you. It was linked into the newsletter, but then Cassie can also send that to you hopefully tomorrow. And just a recommendation, you don't have to do this, but the curriculum subcommittee, this might be a good way to start off to take a look at those improvement plans and talk to the administration and their teams to see where they are and what they'll be doing in terms of strategies for next year to make improvements for students based upon the needs. And that is where I'm going to leave it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your words. Member Bartoli.
Thank you, Dr. Bonner. I wanted to ask, will there be, I think one of the student representatives mentioned some feedback on the digital hall passes. Will there be an opportunity for students to weigh in on that process and their experience of it?
So with 2.5 days, and it's only been about 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the pilot, so there won't be enough time.
Well, I mean, like next year,
but
is
I
that
don't
something?
know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I would have to ask administration if they'll be able to get that, because right now it's just we didn't really have enough time to really see the management of it, the monitoring of it. But I know one thing that it has resolved, the issue about students falsifying their names as they go in to the bathrooms. They can no longer do that because it's in the system. So that does help.
Okay.
But I'm sure that the administration will definitely survey the students in terms of how they're doing.
Okay,
How is it going?
Great.
Cassie, I just want to note for the record that it looks like Member Stein has left the meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any further questions or discussion for Dr. Bonner? Again, thank you, Dr. Bonner, for
Thank you.
all you've done. Okay, quick Budget and Property Subcommittee report, Member Sainer Sullivan.
Yeah, I'm going to read this super fast, so bear with me, okay? We discussed what short-term heat remediation remedies have been employed and what was in the works. Member Martin asked Bobby about the account at city council level dedicated to MPS energy projects and if there could be future collaboration instead of PTOs paying for air conditioners. Bobby explained that the intent of that fund is to fund long-term projects, although some funds were used to purchase a few ACs at JFK. Member Martin pointed out that there aren't long-term plans for BSS per Director Weil. Let's see. Member Martin asked Bobby to guide us through the budget process from here on in and pointed out the legal need for another science teacher at JFK, as well as the budgeting of new teachers at 95,000, which Bobby explained is at the higher end due to constant changes. I relayed Dr. Bonner's recs, including that a needed third grade teacher at BSS will be coming from JSS and the need for the JFK science teacher and waiting to use the remaining 114,000 in the special ed stabilization fund. After we know who moves into the district for the new school year, Bobby said we'll need $50K for new stipends for special education teachers and to fund Ignite. As of a week ago, the balance from all schools from after school programs totaled about 101,000, which will hopefully get us into taking tuition, but it will drain those accounts. We have $54K for supplies to implement whatever we decide for cell policy. Bobby said Kate Mesmer is writing a state grant. Then we would need stipends for teachers for arrival and dismissal. Bobby is with us till August 11th. The new biz director begins July 29th, and Bobby reports state supplemental budget confidence beyond what we know now, should know very soon. We discussed salaries and startup costs for Ignite and that vouchers are unlikely to be accepted this first year because the program must be accredited. I offered to reach out to Representative Sabadosa if she could offer any advice with setting up the vouchers for this year. I did do that night. We have not heard back. Looking forward, we agreed to flag Ignite and updates from Bobby about any changes and opportunities in the budget as they happen over the summer that would be of benefit for us and the larger committee to know. And Member Martin would like to have the new superintendent at the next meeting, and Member Martin would like to begin a deep dive into the monthly reports, how we want them, benchmarks to consider, so we can report monthly or quarterly back to the city council. School committee, sorry.
Okay, well done. Okay, Superintendent eval subcommittee report, right back to you.
We held our organizational meeting. Happy to be serving as the chair with members Weisenfreud and Mahoney. I asked Cassie to give us an outline of the steps of the evaluation process. DESI structure we use lays out the process clearly. Member Mahoney suggested that the series of short videos put out by DESI might be helpful for the whole committee to watch for an overview. We discussed the timing and number of evaluations per year and having a discussion around that with the incoming superintendent as well as pursuing the best way to gather survey feedback with the next clerk because that process could stand to be improved, says Cassie. And she shared various documents with us to get us up to speed. And Member Weisenfreud expressed concern about school committee members not having enough time to respond to the last survey, as well as the benefit of having clear instructions to members from the subcommittee and or for the subcommittee members to be available to answer questions about the evaluation. And this summer, between the school committee and the new superintendent, we'll develop the goals and standards to move forward with, and we'll discuss the best time for our subcommittee to hold our first meeting with the new superintendent. Lastly, I asked about the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents' new superintendent induction program and have since heard from Miss Azarloza that she has already attended the first meeting with her cohort of 25 new Massachusetts superintendents.
Great, thank you. Okay, and CPAC report, Member Jewel, are you?
I'm going to do it super abridged and send Cassie my full report. So
It's also linked.
It's linked to, yes, to the clerk. Please include the June CPAC monthly report in the meeting minutes. A big thanks and appreciation goes out to this year's executive board members, Dave Gorin and Jacob Drew. And on behalf of my school committee colleagues, I'd like to extend a welcome and appreciation to the incoming executive board members, Tyler Barnett, Jacob Drew, Alyssa Mai, Quaverly Rothenberg, and Angela Wack. We look forward to continue working with CPAC in the upcoming 26-27 school year. We talked about family events, the Ryan Road Therapeutic Support. CPAC urges NPS and the Ryan Road School leadership to take seriously what they're hearing from classroom teachers and families, to spend adequate time in classroom spaces to understand the needs, and to have a clear plan in place for the transition to the new school year. With the restraint and behavior support policy, the CPAC members participated in the Rules and Policy Subcommittee discussion and appreciated the involvement regarding cease and desist letters. In CPAC community, leadership takes no position on the legal claims made with those letters, but expresses concern that current Director Holloway deemed it necessary to send them. With the 2025 to 26 IDEA findings, CPAC's glad that the district has been designated as met requirements and recognizes that progress toward compliance with IEPs has been made over the past year. However, many gaps in the ways our district serves its students and disabilities continue to remain. CPAC's hopeful that a more detailed analysis of revealed strengths and relative areas of growth as described in the DESI letter is forthcoming from administrators. And they also share a bunch of examples. With the after-school program, CPAC intends to work with the new Ignite director and the director of student services to identify and distribute resources that help caregivers understand the program's commitment to equal access under ADA in Section 504. The CPAC out-of-district group continues to meet monthly to support caregivers whose children are complex in terms of their emotional, physical, and learning profiles. Caregivers in this group rely on the school committee to advocate for their needs just as students placed in the district do. And lastly, CPAC welcomes incoming Superintendent Azarloza and looks forward to working with her this summer and throughout the upcoming school year.
Okay, all right. Future business quickly. We went over these at the meeting that this is continued from. So very quickly, late start time for NHS in August. NACE Immigrant Solidarity Committee resolution. Northampton Public Schools ensuring schools are safe zones free from immigration enforcement. Also in August. Section 14 of Rules of Procedure, clarifying contingency meetings and clarifying school committee voting process on NACE MOAs. Those are all in August. Future business. So we have our retreat that is going to be on August 8th from 8:30 in the morning to 2:30 p.m. And the location is to be decided. Then our school committee meeting is going to be August 11th. That will be a hybrid meeting, so in JFK and online, and at the usual time at 6:30 p.m. Budget and Property Subcommittee, August 10th at 5 on Zoom. So that school committee meeting that says August 13th is incorrect. It has now been changed to August 11th. And Rules and Policy Subcommittee, August 19th, 5 p.m. on Zoom. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion's been made by Member Jewell, seconded by who was it?
me.
Member Sater Sullivan. Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Shara,
Yes.
Member Bartoli,
Yes.
Member Weisenfreund, it's gone. Member Montgomery Tomaclo,
Two
she's
left.
gone. Member Stein is gone. Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Thank you all. Yes.
Member Reese,
Yes.
Member Jewell,
Yes, thank you to Dr. Bonner and to you, Cassie. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Member Sainer Sullivan,
Yes.
9:48. Good luck to you all.
Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you,
Dr.
Cassie. Thank you,
Bonner.
Dr. Bonner.
Dr. Bonner. Take
Well
good
done.
care.
Bye.